Build creative confidence. Beat the inspiration addiction. Join the Writer's Gym. Today is not the first time I'll be talking about the best thing that ever happened to me as a writer, being qualifying as a coach. I did that to help writers understand themselves better, understand that the imposter syndrome that they are feeling is not because they are an imposter, it's because they're a human being who cares about what they're doing and wants to do it as well as they possibly can. Behind that is giving ourselves permission to know that in order to be unique, you have to stop trying to be perfect. You have to find your individual voice. One of the champions of finding your individual voice for me is Jade Robertson, the creative director and founder of Little Lies. Jade's business combines music she loves with fashion and names pieces after songs. So I discovered her as somebody who was visually writing stories that involved things I had loved for all of my life. And she gave me permission to put certain things about my personality together. Like it was okay that I love illustrating myself as Rosie Garland, poet, novelist. And I talked about on a previous series of the Writer's Gym. And I am thrilled to be talking to Jade today. I'm a guest blogger for Little Lies. I talk in that guest blog about how discovering business and personal coaching in those same lockdown-centric years as when I was qualifying as a coach helped me create the space to be absolutely who I was on the page and in the world through the storytelling that she was doing visually. If you, like the Writer's Gym members, are all about building your creative confidence, then Jade is a great person to hear from about how you combine all the things about you, all the things that you love, and you celebrate them. That's what her business is made from. That is what my business is made from. And I am so excited to be talking to Jade Robertson on the Writer's Gym today. Jade Robertson, welcome to the Writer's Gym.
Thank you for having me.
This is such a complete delight for me, not least because you're partially responsible for me being here. I met my producer through the Little Lies Facebook group and fainted through recognising ourselves.
Yeah. It's totally wild to me that any of that happened. So yeah, amazing.
It has been such an amazing thing for me to discover everything you've done through this. And as a writer and as a coach of writers, to look at people whose business is about essentially what I think the one ingredient my job is to give anybody is, which is permission to be themselves.
Same. That's my job too.
Right. And for us, I talk in the Writer's Gym about the writer's palette, that you've got all of your memory, you've got all of your imagination, observations, questions about the world. Your job is to free yourself to mix those utterly freely, so that it's no longer about, am I allowed to do this, or am I the kind of person who does that? And I think that's what the story that Little Lies tells, that's what I fell in love with. It was just this moment of, oh yeah, I do have a right to all of these things that maybe some of them I'd lost touch with along the way or hadn't tapped into. So I just love to hear about you, your story, the story you're telling. Oh my goodness, where do we start? Should we start?
Where should we start?
Shall we start with founding the company?
Yeah. So yeah, Little Lies have just turned 10, as you know. Started it back in 2015 from the spare room of my home with my husband, who still had a full-time job only up until 4 years ago. So I've kind of been full-time in it from the beginning, but he was like a supporting role. I've always been the kind of creative director side of things. He's managing director. He does all the facts, figures and business. I do all the creative, but we both kind of support one another on both sides of things.
So you and Stuart coming back from a gig, connecting a bunch of interests, is that sort of...
Yeah, so I'd kind of done similar things, like bits and pieces like this, freelance for quite a while. Been working on various different things, and always worked in live music. I'd worked in retail, lots of different things that I kind of loved, but didn't have the interest of having my own business. And Stuart had kind of said to me a few times, you could be doing this for yourself. You could have a shop, or you could have a website, and I was always like, yeah, okay. And then it was this one day we were driving home after this gig, and I just was thinking, and I was like, I feel like I can see this brand. I feel like it's kind of, the pieces are coming together, and I can see an opportunity for something that is a way to run a business out of all of the things that I'm passionate about. Because I think I felt before I didn't want it to be like, okay, well now I do retail and I don't do the other things. But in time, like just it kind of being like drip fed and thinking about it over time, it kind of all came together that I was like, there is a way that I can run this business that is pulling together all of the things I'm passionate about. And so once that idea was in my head, there was then no way that I wasn't going to be able to do it, because I'm one of those people that, like, once I've made that decision, I'm like, okay, well, we start now. So
some ideas, it's like they've chosen you. They're in the room now.
100%. Yeah. So from that point, that was in the February. I think by like the May, I'd actually nailed it all down and was like, okay, well, this is going to be my job. This is the business name, like all these things. And by the end of July, we launched. So these things don't happen particularly quickly, but that was quite fast for this. But by the time I kind of knew what I wanted to do, it was all there and ready, and I had like all the kind of skills. Anything I didn't know, I just YouTubed it and made it up. Completely self-taught, literally no official training in anything, but it was just the right thing. So, and it's just developed and changed from there.
Did you consider other names, or was that part of the that's what it is?
You know, I considered other names just to make sure I had considered other names. But Little Lies for me had so many different reasons. It wasn't just the music, and it wasn't just like the fact that it's a Fleetwood Mac. There was an element of like, I've always been a bit of a treasure hunter, and I would buy things, whether it was like a charity shop or vintage store or something. And my mum, like as a teenager, and mum would be like, oh, is that new? Have you been shopping again? And I'd be like, no. Like, so all the little lies I used to, and not like I was a liar, just putting that out there, but you know, like all the little things that you just really like had to own that you couldn't not buy. I just felt like Little Lies kind of encapsulated that, as well as it being like such an iconic song. Everyone knows it. Like just even seeing our logo, people sing it at me. And I'm like, yep, you're going to have that in your head the rest of the day, and that is marketing.
I love the fact that it's in your handwriting as well, that the logo is your handwriting. I
couldn't find a font. I just couldn't find one. And so I wrote it on like, I've got literally like, there's loads of pages where I just kept writing it over and over again to get it to look right. And then, yeah, now that's just when I write it, that's just what it looks like, because I've practiced it so many times.
It feels very storytelly to me. Certainly that a part of my experience of it, and just because of my job and why this is important, is they're such perfect bookmarks that got your handwriting, Little Lies, on one side, and then because I'm old school, it was when there was the label of the name of the song and all of that. And I don't think I consciously thought this at the time when I discovered it, but it's a really good sort of microcosm of how all the different bits of our lives can come together. Because I have said in the blog that I'm writing for you, I've said that there were songs that I rediscovered, bands that I rediscovered, many I discovered for the first time. And this, and just to be clear, this is with it. This is not because the songs have only just come out most of the time. This is stuff that I've loved from the 70s, 60s, 80s. And just having that little object, bringing all of it in, I really do feel like that level of celebration of so many things coming into that. It's just a lovely object.
I think the nice thing though is that wasn't the goal with that. It's just a lot of what we've done has been like, oh, that just feels like the right thing to do. And I think that's when it comes in with what you talk about the knowing yourself, being true to yourself, and the kind of self-expression is like, I don't feel like, I mean now a bit more, but in the beginning certainly I wasn't like, I know who I am. You know, I was 25, just kind of had a good idea I knew the things I liked and didn't like, but I wasn't like, I know who I am inside out. But by constantly just doing the things that feel right, you start to realise that is who you are, and it kind of builds that out. So all these little things are like, I think because they're not contrived, they're just what has felt natural. Yes. It means that people who are similar to me relate to it. And that's the same in whatever you're creating.
And it is how self-creation works, because with the coaching side of the business and with my own journey, which has included coaching and psychotherapy and realising how valuable these things are, it's just really beautiful hearing you say that, because that is something that certainly at 25, I did not understand what I wasn't doing yet. I was still looking for permission or approval completely externally. And the irony is that in doing that, I was actually going, oh, I'm not, and this is my least favourite phrase in the universe, the kind of person who, and I wasn't as interested in clothes and hair and makeup and all of that in my mid-20s because I thought that wasn't who I was supposed to be. And it wasn't conscious. It wasn't that I was sitting there doing that, but the level of self-expression. I talked to a novelist and poet on the last series of the Writers' Gym who is also I talk about the goth spectrum. She's the proper goth as far as I'm concerned, but every goth thinks somebody else is the proper goth. She's goth best in show. And she said the same thing, that it's allowing yourself to be in the room. And we were talking about what I call feeling illustrated in that way. And for me, particularly as I really got into it during lockdown, that permission to show up as you want to be. And it's not just clothes and makeup, it's everything that they represent. Allowing all of that to come into the room is such an important thing.
And I think as well, it's not just, whether it's the clothes and the makeup, it's also like that one kimono can mean so many different things to different people. They can style it different ways. And that's part of the beauty, is it's not like if you like Little Lies, you have to dress like me, or you have to dress the same as the other things. And that's actually one of the reasons, and like how the brand came about, was that I loved clothes, but I was like, I'm not interested in fashion. Like, I still don't have a clue what's on trend, like who's cool. I'm like, you do you, but I just don't feel excited by that. And so growing up and as a teenager and things, I felt like the high street wasn't for me. I found it just a little bit beige, not in the way that it is now, literally beige, but beige as in like it was just all very similar. And every store had similar things and everybody wore similar things. And I just felt like, I just don't really see me in that. But then the only other option was like alternative. And I was like, well, I'm not that, but I'm also not that. Like, surely there are people like me who are kind of in between. And that was where actually we found, an absolute tribe of people who are like, oh my God, this is me. And when they find Little Lies, they're like, this is kind of that little, like that space in between that has been missing, where it's like authenticity, but it's not like costume. It's not being that thing or that thing. It's just being you in the middle. And I think that's been the real beauty of what I kind of didn't mean to start. It's just been something that I've always been and kind of thought about and wanted for me, but didn't even consider how that might impact other people, or that other people were in the same kind of situation. And so it's very interesting how it's come about, and meeting people like yourself, and there's so many customers that are in the same kind of boat and who find the same thing and feel like they've found themselves. One of the key things that's very interesting is a lot of women who, after having children, they have felt like they've lost themselves. Maybe they had a really strong personality, strong identity, or didn't have that, and then had kids and then were like, wait a minute, because it does really change you on a cellular level. I felt that. I mean, my daughter's 4 now, and there were a lot of changes in the business at the time, and I really lost myself. And that's somebody you think who has a strong personal identity, but I was so lost. And so hearing from women who felt like they'd lost themselves, and then they discovered Little Lies and were like, wait, this feels like me, and it doesn't feel scary. It feels like something I can get into. And then through the brand, they start to, in other ways, really embrace who they are and find themselves again. So that's like probably one of my proudest things that I've been able to do for lots of different people. And whether that's, post kids or not, or any post breakup or anything, just changes or different stages in your life where you're like, wait, who am I? And then finding a brand that helps you figure it out or put your finger on it.
And who am I today, which will have things in common with yesterday and things in common with tomorrow, but you don't owe it to somebody else. It's about discovery, isn't it?
Yeah, and just doing what feels right for you in that moment, but not in a selfish way. It's not in like just do what you want. It's more just like, no, it has to feel authentic to you and not feel like you're being who you think you're supposed to be or doing what you think you're supposed to do. Like, just do what feels most authentic to you. Know your core values and like what you believe in, what you stand for, and everything else will follow.
A big thing for me and for the Writers' Gym is about changing the idea of what confidence is and what confidence looks like. And the thing that it can be so tempting to do is confidence is what somebody else has and somebody else is entirely sure about everything, etc., etc. Whereas when it's focus, because my background was Stanislavski, so it was about the focus and the authenticity and looking at what's in front of you and responding based on your own emotions and bringing that kind of emotional truth into your life. And I found that about certainly stories on social media and the way the era in which your business and your storytelling has grown up in, and mine has as well. It's something that I think was really lovely to see about that was that you took more and more space. At first, when I started, it was the still glorious Erin and I saw Martha a lot, and
Yes.
they were the faces that I saw in Jonesy and so on, and they've been fabulous, and that's part of the storytelling. But what I've also seen alongside that is originally we'd see you, but you're in the corner, and now you're talking to the camera and you're sharing with us and you're talking us through the thought processes. That feels like a very powerful decision.
Yes. It wasn't one that I made because I'm like, I have something to say, or like, I want to be visible. I think it just came to a point where, particularly when designing, or even before designing, like when I was pulling collections together, there were so many reasons behind it as to what was there, why I chose the product, why we were curating it, that you can't really just write in a description or put in a post when you see somebody wear it. Like, there's always so much more to it, and I always thought that's just what makes sense to me. I didn't think that was interesting to anybody else. And it's only further down the line of bringing in more people in the team, people asking questions and maybe talking about it, and because it was so insular for the beginning, like it was literally me in a spare room for so long that there's nobody else being like, what you're doing is actually quite interesting, like, can you tell me more about that? So the more that it grew, and the more that people were like, people, if I want to know that, then the customer will want to know that. And so it started to kind of grow in that way. And then particularly with design, because obviously there's a lot of consideration through it, that then became easier as well. I think it's one of those things, if you give me a script and try and get me to talk or say, right, I need you to say this, this and this to the camera, the team know now there's no point, because I'll be like, huh, what are you trying to get me to say? They know just to be like, right, that thing there, pick it up, like, talk about it. And I'll be like, well, blah, 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 blah. And I'll be chatting away about like all the different ways that I love it, the reasons that it was designed, like all of these things. And that is something that I guess has proved popular to people. And then the more they know about it, the more they want to know about it. And that content then just kind of resonates. I think as well, because I'm just quite a normal person. Like, I'm not some supermodel. I'm not some like trained speaker. You know, I've got a Scottish accent. I'm just like, I just really like this. This is cool. This is how I would wear it, you know, in my day-to-day life, running after my toddler. And I think that then resonates and makes it more authentic. And not that I'm saying that if I was some kind of perfect specimen, which doesn't exist, that it wouldn't be as interesting. I just didn't feel like my voice and what I had to say was interesting. And over time, I've realised that actually it is. But it's not interesting to everyone, and that's fine. But people who want to know will listen, and people who don't can swipe along.
And that's so important, isn't it? That it was never about everybody having to like us. And
no.
Yet, if you look at, I don't know about you, but the first video I ever made on Instagram is essentially, hello, I'm absolutely fine with the chin's going up and you can see the person trying to get away.
Yeah, the fear.
But when you get to know your audience and when you get to realise that person out there is a version of you who could do with the encouragement, because that's what I always want to be. And it's certainly what you are to me doing that, is that you are communicating the story in all senses, as in, I mean, a side thing, but having different body shapes and having different heights. My God, I'm 5 foot. So, you know, having all of the different shapes and that side of things is a visual way of saying it is not about being some kind of ideal, which is actually the opposite. It is truly about individuality and growth, which then, as you do every video, we are growing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's like something that's really beautiful as well, is that, like, you know, some days you can be confident, some days you can not, but you just kind of go with it. And I don't know, I think I'm getting more comfortable because it's like confidence comes from within. It's not from external validation. So what somebody else says on any of my videos, like, I really don't care. Like, I just want for anything that's of use for anybody there, that's what they get from it. And the people who aren't interested or don't want to see it, like, they don't matter to me, and that's fine. Like, I think just realising how unimportant you are is actually quite freeing, to be like, I'm doing what feels right for me and for my customers. It will resonate for some, it'll land, it'll feel like the right thing, and for others it won't, and that's great. It doesn't matter.
Was there a moment, or was there a sort of, I mean, we got to talk about the Taylor Swift dress, because you can't argue with a superstar wearing the dress. And
yes.
then there's that example, but was that a moment where you went, wow, this is, it's arrived, or it's a thing, or was it earlier than that?
The business has been, although it's 10 years old, it has been through so many iterations of what it is. We've always been called Little Eyes. We've always kind of on the front end looked quite similar as a business, but behind the scenes it has changed drastically. and in so many ways in so many different times. The major change is when we moved from being a boutique to being a brand. So bringing in a design team, being like fully designed own label. And I think looking back now, if I was able to do that differently, I think I'm glad we didn't. Basically, if you were going to advise from a business perspective, we should have closed the business and started again, because essentially changing the product completely, like complete departure from like price point, the quality, the fit, everything was really quite confusing for the customer. However, I didn't want to lose Little Lie as the brand, and the customer basically built in that sense. And so we basically tried to make the switch, but it nearly broke us. Like, it was so difficult, and it seemed like it got more difficult as we went through that process. And we were approaching collections in the same way that we approached the boutique ones, except it was the own brand. And then at the same time, I became a mum. And through all of this, I just felt like I lost myself completely. And if I'm completely honest, I was very close to being like, I'm done. I think I've seen this through. I feel like this has come to a natural end. It's not working for me. I'm not happy. I felt like I had a complete imposter syndrome. I didn't trust my judgment. I didn't trust my personal taste level. I didn't trust my decision on what looked nice. I was kind of just like taking on everyone else's opinions, but we had a team of like 25 people. And I was just like, you guys know better than me. This is fine. And kind of doing what I thought was the right thing to do. And meanwhile, the business was just struggling and not performing as well. And I was like, maybe this is it. Like, maybe I just kind of be a mum, revisit something like this later. And I'd kind of hit complete burnout the Christmas before. So it was Christmas 2023. I was off work for 4 weeks because I literally couldn't function at all. And over that Christmas break and over that time off, I had come to the kind of realization that I'm not done yet. Like, I feel like I've not seen this through to every single thing that I want to do. I need to go back in there, put my big girl pants on, and really ensure that at every single stage, the product, the marketing, the way we run things, every single thing is exactly what aligns with what I feel I want it to be. And if then it doesn't work, I'll at least feel like I've seen it through and that I have tried everything possible. And on the Monday, I went back to work, and on the Thursday, Taylor Swift happened. And it felt like the universe being like, Taylor Swift says you should keep going.
Do you want to just say that for anyone who's not, say what you woke up to?
So yes, I woke up that morning, I think it was like the 11th of January, 2024, to images of Taylor Swift in this green velvet dress. And my first thought was like, okay, do we need a lawyer? Like, who have we accidentally copied? Because I just thought like I didn't even cross my mind that could be our dress. So I was frantically searching for like green velvet dress. And then after a little while, I was like, I can't find anything online like this. You know, I thought like, is it Chloe, or is it, is it a brand? Like, is it a Vivienne Westwood that I haven't realised? And we've accidentally, because, Taylor Swift as a person, a lot of her influences are very similar to ours. Have we drawn from the same influences and created the same thing? And then we were like, I think that is our dress. And so scrolled through orders and searched things and did a total deep dive and found the order. And we were like, holy shit, Taylor Swift's wearing our dress. And then it was like, let's do a press release. So, because again, the first thing I thought when I realised it was ours was, this would make a really good Instagram post, because I was completely oblivious to how much it could or would do. And then once we put the press release out, it went absolutely bonkers. And for about 48 hours, my phone did not stop ringing with every media outlet under the sun, like radio, TV, newspapers, like everything. I think because it was January. January is always a bit shit. It's always a bit miserable. It was Taylor Swift, the biggest star in the world. And she was wearing a £58 dress from a tiny little brand that was available in sizes 6 to 24. So people were like, I can afford the same dress as Taylor Swift and it comes in my size. And so it just completely blew up. And we did our month's target and things just went completely insane. And then, it dropped right back down to normal again. Like it wasn't a lasting thing. And she did buy multiple other things from us, and she's worn another dress at another point as well. Didn't have the same kind of thing. There was no professional photograph, so it was kind of like a very sneaky little Instagram picture that we could see. So it didn't have the same effect. But I think that for me was like, this can do bigger things. And it put us in front of a new audience of Swifties who, now don't get me wrong, I didn't ever dislike Taylor Swift, but I wasn't like, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. Like, I was kind of neither. I just always thought, oh, those are really catchy songs, but I didn't know anything about her because, I rarely listened to anything new. It's just, and again, it's like when I was saying about I'm not really kind of aware of like what's new or trending. And Taylor Swift kind of fell into that category for me. I didn't really have an opinion either way, but once I saw her wear the dress, I started to research into her a bit more. I watched her documentary and I was like, this woman is an absolute powerhouse genius. Like, I love her, everything she stands for. I can see why her fans are so obsessed. And I think them finding us was like, our brand values really align with Taylor's brand values. And so it was such a beautiful kind of alignment that I never could have even, like, if you'd said to me, who is the one person you'd want to be seen on? I wouldn't have said Taylor. Not because I didn't like her, but just because I never thought that was kind of in alignment with us. Now it's like these things, you know, cross-pollinate in ways that you could not imagine. And so, yeah, basically that was like the big moment of 2024. And from there, having to do all the stuff I got launched into press-wise kind of gave me a bit more confidence. And yeah, I was thrown right back into the deep end after 4 weeks of wallowing.
And for the record, it's so much more than wallowing. It is the ability to look inside and find out. And I was posting about this morning just because what we can do is want to rush for an answer, is get an answer now, because when there is that discomfort inside, you want to deal with it now. And actually sitting with, because a client, what the post was about was that a client had said to me yesterday, when I mentioned sitting with something, she said, but what is that? What does that mean? And I went, oh, because so many people never ever do it. And actually the answers that you come to in that particular example, the answer you came to was, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. And then you dug a little bit deeper than that. And the answer was, I very much do want to do this, but here is what I don't feel I'm embodying right now. And how do I need to do this?
It's doing it, but in a different format. Like it was that was the problem for me. So diving in really helped me to kind of dig right down and be like, okay, well, I'd go round all the loops and be like, okay, well, if I didn't do it anymore, what would my life look like? And then also, if I didn't do it anymore, what would I miss? And if I didn't do it anymore, what would I be relieved to not be doing anymore? And kind of really like going round and round in circles and pinpointing, like, okay, well, these are the things that are working and these are the things that aren't. And going into, I got a new notebook and a pen. I did a little mind map and was like, what do I want to create? And I've still got it, the little mind map is on my desk. And it was like, all of the things that I wanted to create was not like dresses, kimonos, like it was inclusivity, positivity, community, celebration, like all of these things. And those were the things that by going really into a brand and designing as a fashion brand, we lost all of those things because we were focusing on like the trim on this one or the custom fabric on that one. Like it got too on the surface. I mean, I was learning about all these things. Like I have no fashion training, but now I do all the design and development on my own. Like we don't have a team of people doing it. I have support with Garment Tech and she's an absolute legend. She helps with all the bits that I'm like, I mean, what's a grading rule? Like, how does that work? I think like you think that you can't do things, but so long as you've got the passion and the kind of drive and the reason, like as long as you know your why, you can do anything.
Our thing under that is say the thing. How do I do this? I don't know. Rather than, and there ends the story. Who do I ask? What do I ask? Who do I join forces with?
That is key in business, like so key. And we always say that as well, like when we're hiring or with our teams, like it's not about knowing the answer. It's about knowing how to find the answer. And whether that be through a Google search, whether that be through, you know, a referral, asking somebody who might know the answer, YouTube, like anything. Like, I think that's what always makes a good entrepreneur is not because nobody knows everything. It's just silly to even think that you do. No one knows better than you. They're just better at figuring it out. Like they just are, or they're not afraid to ask a question. And that's the key thing is just like ask, find out, like find a way, explore it.
I'm hearing in everything you're saying. So, I mean, it's not entirely gendered, but I have had a lot of clients who are female business owners who, when it starts getting bigger, when you're on a tipping point of some kind, even though that is the evidence in the world that something is working, that's the point where it can feel most like something isn't. And suddenly the imposter syndrome that most of us carry, if not all,
it gets bigger.
Yeah, it gets an echo chamber because somebody will say, here is a question. And you will say in your head, but I'm just me. And actually that is enough. It is not unlikely, Jade, that there are a bunch of people listening to this who, if they're not facing it already, will be facing it at some point. What would you want other people in that situation to either know or remember?
I think that when you look at, like, looking at other people is not helpful, and that also you see somebody and think they have it all figured out. They don't. Like, literally nobody knows what they're doing. I also learned this, like, I felt like this after becoming a parent as well. I was like, none of us know what we're doing. We're all just winging it. We're literally all just winging it. And as soon as you are comfortable with the fact that you're winging it and that it's okay to wing it, then you start getting really good at winging it. You just have to, like, be like, it's fine to not know. And you're not supposed to know, but go and have a look and see if you can find the answer. Find somebody who can help. Ask a question, like, accept help. Definitely that. Yeah, accept help and know that it's absolutely fine to be winging it. Nobody knows everything about everything.
So true and so important. With my writer hat on, and I guess it's part of the same question in a way, but as a creative director of a business, or as somebody creating a world in fiction or visuals or whatever kind of storytelling it is, keeping yourself interested rather than trying to be interesting, keeping yourself interested is absolutely key. With my writer hat on, I'd be so interested to ask when you're getting, I don't know how the description side of it works, whether it's a team of copywriters or a couple or you and one other, or how that works. How do you ensure that voice of Little Lies, that sort of person or that identity stays itself? Are there things about that you work
so
with?
there's people who, some of the team, Jess, who you probably know from marketing as well. So she'll do a lot of the initial things. So what I'll do is I'll go into, specifically on product descriptions, I'll go in and put in, like, the bullet points of, like, these are the key actual functional garment features, like design features. Does it have a zip? What's the fabric like? The silhouette, is it based on another thing we've done? I put all those things in. She goes in and dumps in, like, loads of different stuff and, like, frilly things and different, like, options, because I don't have the time anymore to write the full thing. But then I go back in and then I really edit that right down. And so it's that thing where, like, neither of us feels like we write the descriptions, because it's like, it's not like that's my task and my task alone. It's sharing that task out and being like, right, well, I do this part, you do that part, and then I do that part. Between us, we do it. And then because I have that final edit and I sign it off and then hit schedule on the listing, it does stick to my tone of voice. But also Jess is very, very in tune with me, who I am, what my tone of voice is, what the brand's tone of voice is. She's a customer, and that was, like, how we met, was she was a customer of the brand. And so, there's a lot of things within the brand that really resonated with her, that she felt like she'd always been looking for. And so she gets it. And I think that's the thing, is having somebody here who really does understand it. Then it means that she often puts things in, I'm like, yeah, that's probably what I would have said. Yeah, that's kind of the process of how we do specifically the descriptions for products.
It's such a beautiful thing when you have that. With the Writers' Gym, I have somebody who works with me in the office, and she was an MA student of mine in creative writing, and the same. I love finding the right person, so that, as you say, you put the skeleton in, you put what needs to be in it, and they might do a bit, but because you've had all those previous conversations, even though you're not the one writing it, you, plural, qualitative, are the one writing it. It's still you.
Yeah, and I think I just find it much easier to, like, if it was like, right, go in and write the descriptions for every single thing, I would find that kind of too overwhelming a task, and I would be like, oh,
it stopped being
time.
Fun as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't know where to start. Like, that's what I used to do, and it got to a point where I was like, this isn't working anymore. And so, like, at times we've had different people in the team who would do them, but now, because I think it's circled back to me designing everything from scratch, it does need to be me having that final, like, and really, like, looking in and writing it. So yeah, I think it's nice that, like, I can go into what she's doing, and I can just do it so quickly now, because I'm like, oh yeah, this bit, that bit, change it. And I find that much more efficient than just writing the whole thing start to finish.
Those relationships, and knowing that somebody, when you grow the business, when that story continues, being clear on those value pillars, as you said, knowing who you are, is so important, and just illustrating all of that. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
It's crucial in anything you do.
It is, isn't it? It's the same for everything. It is permission to be yourself. Whether it's about the business specifically or life in general, are there any sort of thought habits or approaches that you would recommend in terms of, as a creative director, as a storyteller? What would you sort of flag wave to other people out there?
I think it's kind of the things that I've already mentioned in a lot of ways, that like the way I approach everything is like knowing your why. If you're clear on like what your why is, like why am I doing this in the first place? And whether that's like a specific interview or meeting or project or anything, like understanding your why allows you to then understand how you feel about it, what the reasons are for it, what your core value, pillars, values are. And then that just steers everything in and keeps everything concise. So that's one of them. The other one as well is around the kind of imposter syndrome and the confidence and things. It's just like, I used to always tell myself, if you pretend to be confident when you go into a room, walking into a room of a lot of people or doing some kind of event or anything you've got to do, if you pretend to be confident and that person thinks you're confident, what's the difference between actually being confident? And I found that in doing that and just being like, you can do this, going for it, in time, I actually was just like, but I can do this. And like the next scary thing was then not as scary. And so I felt I always had to do that earlier in my life, whereas now I don't have to kind of tell myself that anymore because I'm a lot more confident in who I am and what I want and kind of how I feel about things. And so I feel like the more sure you are of how you feel and of who you are as a person, the less things kind of bother you in any way and the less things are scary. But if you're like constantly like, oh my God, but I'm so like insecure, then that insecurity passes on to everything and makes everything harder. So I think just like that time of reflection and really figuring out like who you are, who you want to be, what you want your life to look like, that time to really think about it, right? I find that useful as well, like writing down, keeping kind of a diary. I don't do it all the time. I go through phases, but I recently listened to a podcast with Jamie Genevieve from the brand Vive. She's a makeup artist, and she was saying about write for 7 minutes, like set an alarm on your phone and just write continuously, not thinking about it, but just like constantly write. And actually you'll realise that things come out that you don't even know you thought or felt. And that just helps her to sometimes work through a problem or a situation. And so I find things like that really useful. But yeah, I think it all comes back to knowing your why and being comfortable with who you are.
I love that thing that when you first have that idea about confidence, it's sort of what other people see. And then you realise, as you say, that no one's feeling like that. I mean, the thing that I said to myself, there's no such thing as adults. They're like,
oh my God, yes. I can concur with that.
Dragons and Griffins, beautiful idea, doesn't exist. We're all just doing our best. So
exactly.
that why is what you're left with, isn't it? It's why do I want to do it? What is the change that I want to make in the world and how do I do it?
And it doesn't have, like, your why doesn't have to be a big thing. Your why can be that you want a comfortable, happy, small life. And that why is enough. So if that why is then like, oh, you're getting this thing where you should go and do this big thing. If that's not for you, don't do it. Like, just do what feels right for you. Whereas I know, like, my why is all about this, like, allowing people to realise that they can be themselves unapologetically. If that takes me having to go up and do a really scary thing, but it helps, then I'm doing it. So I think it's understanding what your reasoning is behind everything, which sounds like a massive question, but it's actually really not. Do a mind map and you'll know.
And also just not waiting for the feelings to change, but walking with the feelings in order to do the thing that's worth doing because of that why. Oh, it's been such a pleasure, Jade. I'm going to just tell you. I'm just going to tell you. Forever. I would look at the website and I would actually screenshot because I knew that, as things sold out, they get taken off the website.
Yeah.
I would screenshot the photos. I would remind myself what the styling tips were because I loved the styling tips. I loved you saying you can wear it as a dress, you can wear it as a kimono, here's how it... And I loved, and this is the thing, I love the storytelling because you'd take us in these tiny little descriptions, you'd take us to the gig with this character, with this person, you'd take this item and you would create this piece and you would create stories around it. And I think this is what absolutely lit this up in a way that, no clothing company has ever captured my imagination, become part of my thinking and my personality.
That's
that's not something I knew would happen.
Me neither. I didn't mean it.
Yeah, and this is where authenticity goes, isn't it? We're not in charge. It's the ideas. And like when I started Greening Sponsored Right for Macmillan Cancer Support, I was sitting in Starbucks, which was the favourite cafe of the friend who died of cancer, and it was her chosen charity. And I was sitting there at Sponsored Right. Like, I'm never going to swim anything in my life. That's never going to happen. I'm never going to run. Well, I'll run for a bus, but I'm not going to do a sponsored run. And so it just came to me. I want to do more writing because I wasn't doing much writing at that point in my life. This was in my 20s. And the Sponsored Right came because I knew that idea needed to be in the world. And listening to you say that about Little Lies, I can hear the same thing. I can hear that idea arrived in the room and you knew it needed to be in the world and it went into the world. So the names thing is honestly, I get that is probably just a period of time, and I will keep my little labels and they will stay with me, and that's cool, you know, and it's never about staying the same. It's always about growing and changing authentically, and I totally get that. I think if I were to wave my magic wand, which is a very important coaching tool, and you always need to have an invisible one with you at all times so that you remember what the point of all this thinking and feeling is, what I would do with my magic wand is I would make, oh my God, I wish that all of those prior years that have gone, I wish the VIPs could have access to look back on it all, because I feel like it's such a personal, oh my God, so much. I feel like it's a personal photo album
website?
For me. So yeah,
because, or like the product, or
okay, I'll probably need to take this out because it's about Vinted, but here I go. You know the way Vinted, they don't let you use photos of the models, and some people get through it. I'm always thrilled when they do that because I'm like, I remember that. And I wish that when something left the website, I wish there was, like you have the archive section for the clothing.
Oh, okay.
I would dearly love to be able to look back at previous years and go, I remember that.
Oh my God.
I would love that.
You know what? I think that would be quite a funny journey to look back on, because we have changed so much. Like, the product has evolved massively. The way we shoot, like, again, I used to take all the product pictures. I am not a photographer. I used to, you know, had a photo studio set up in my spare room, and I would just take the pictures, and it was, you know, friends like Erin and people who were the models, and Marta, found her in a cafe, just thought she was cool, and didn't have a clue what I was doing. And it was until I was too pregnant to get up off the floor, I got stuck on the floor in a photo shoot, that I was like, we need to hire a photographer. And that was when we first did that. And so, like, looking back now, I'm like, I think I would be equal parts nostalgic and mortified if we looked back at everything that we'd done before. But it could be pretty cool to actually do like a little look back, or even, you know what, we can ask the VIPs, like, what's the one piece that they really remember. Yeah, we've got it all there, I imagine, somewhere. I'm sure there's an archive duplicate website that has like everything stacked. We didn't tend to delete listings.
Oh, I really hope. I'd love to know that they're safe. I'd love to know that they just. And I so get why you would, when it's yours rather than somebody else's. When it's your own, you only sort of, you look back and it's almost like when parents show photos of you as a kid, you're just like, please, anything but this, you know. But at the same time, I, the fan, I, the follower, will not see the holes. I will see the beginnings.
Nostalgia,
I will,
the things.
Yeah, but it's more than that. Yes, it is nostalgia, but it's also like, I mean, if I were my first love, Paul McCartney, listening to some of the outtakes of something he did early on, he's probably not going to listen to that with the same interest and the same love for it of itself as a moment in time. You know, he can see that it leads to something else. I left him for David Bowie in my later life, but he was very much and remains my first love. But yeah, it's. So when I was doing the two other blog posts for you, the Stevie workout and the Bowie workout, I did actually think about that it's a case of, I completely see why I would not want previous versions of how I got to where I am now being as loud as where I am now. But if it were genuinely just VIPs who somehow got to see it, that would be the coolest thing in the universe. If I could go on the Little Lies website. See what I can... It's the attic, really, isn't it? It's letting the VIPs into the attic where all of the stuff that might mean nothing to you, but it's jewels to us.
The funny thing is, like, saying the attic, it's like, so since we started designing and developing our own product, I have one of every single garment boxed in my attic for my daughter. So that, I mean, she might not give a shit, but she's not allowed to throw any out. It's got to be kept. Yeah. But it's the actual literal archive. It's also in case, like, you know, the office were to burn down or something, we've got an actual physical archive of everything. But yeah, the vault, the old stuff. I mean, I'll have pictures and things probably somewhere.
When your Facebook page went offline for a bit, It was
Oh my God.
was a genuine problem for me because I couldn't check how to style things I own. Terrible.
Yeah. I think like I want the VIP group to do more. Like I want people to talk in it more there and really build the community, because we have such a bunch of like strong, amazing personalities in there. But I think it's one of those things, until people start to post a bit more, it can be a bit scary. And I mean, I want to post, but then I'm like, is it weird if it's me? And people are like, do I comment on that? Like, you know, so I'm kind of, we need to, maybe us posting this in there will make them realize like we can just chat.
It totally will. I think what I'm experiencing is the seesaw, the choice will be how much vulnerability am I ready to offer? What will I get if I say yes to that? What am I saying no to if I say yes to that? What am I saying, and vice versa? What I can absolutely say hand on heart is your encouragement to be more present and be more vulnerable will definitely get me in more. From a logistical point of view, the thing that I struggle with, and I have dyspraxia as well, so coordination and I were never brilliant friends. People do talk in the Facebook groups, but of course it's just, there's so much, it's just gone and you can't find it. Yeah. So I agree that probably the future looks like, to me, it does look like it would be within the pages where you can see it and you can talk back. I have zero doubt that any of us seeing you doing stuff will encourage us, because, you know, it's your house we're in. For all of you, not, you know, it's you're the one whose carpets we're worried about getting our muddy footprints on. You're the one who, you know, owns. I
never thought about it like that.
The thing is, like, when I started training in social media, and I'm sure you've heard similar things, one of them was it's the shop front. You know, it's people are walking past the shop front, and there's that side of it. But the side of it that just is in my mind after that point is, once you're through the door, people are still in your, whether you feel like that or not, they are aware.
Yeah, maybe I need to do some more kind of frequent posts in there, asking questions, and then people can kind of comment underneath instead of them having to do their own post. But again, I don't want to piss people off and just be like, me again.
I mean, at the risk of flag waving, as a person who does this in the Writers' Gym every day on Voxer, if you want to have a separate conversation about it, I would be absolutely happy to be a spy.
Sure. Somebody who get in there and help. Somebody who's part of the group who knows who's in there and kind of what they do and don't respond to. I think that's the thing, is that we're still figuring out. The marketing team are really looking like, what do they actually want from this page?
Okay, so I think it's probably a good idea if I make that a separate conversation to this recording, but I would love to have a conversation about that. Definitely. Because, you know, it's, and I will leap back into, I'm sure we'll decide what goes where, but in terms of podcast, it is just an absolute honour to have a creative director who has created stories that have helped me do what I'm here to do for other people, which is allow them to be as them as they can be. You're totally doing that for me. So Jade Robertson of Little Lies, thank you so much for joining the Writers' Gym.
That honestly means the world. Like, I'd never thought from starting this that would do that. Even having just done that for you is like such a massive achievement and something I'm really proud of. But the fact that you now do that for other people as well, like, that's amazing. That's like the best thing ever. So it's much appreciated. I really appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to your next blog post as well.
What I will say, or actually I'll get you to say, is if you want to say the website and where they can find the blog and the website.
Yeah. If you go to little-lies.com, on there we have our blog section, and there are now 2 posts from Rachel on there that are definitely worth having a little read through.
And there will be a third.
Yes.
So
yes, part 3.
Creative confidence workouts through music, through self-expression, through self-identity.
Yeah, if you like
Jade,
the brand, you'll love these.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jade.
Thank you for having me.
You've visited the Writers' Gym with author and coach Dr Rachel Knightley. Production and sound design are by Ashley Lexine, and theme music is by Chris Gregory. To join a Writers' Gym workout online or in London, as a guest or as a member, visit writersgym.com or email thewritersgym@rachelknightley.com.